Okay, this brings us now to syllables in sentences. And we came to this topic at the end of last week, and now we want to pick up from where we left off. It doesn't actually matter whether segments come from the same word or from different words. All that matters is the sequence of segments, the rising and falling sonority. Any sonority peak forms the nucleus of a syllable, and then we organize the surrounding segments into the syllable. Now, speech typically doesn't consist of individual words, right? Just as words don't consist of individual segments. We normally produce language in phrases and sentences, and larger units like what's called an utterance. And so we want to look in a little more detail about how segments from words are grouped into syllables. So the sentence I introduced last week, and we'll use today in a little more detail, the sentence, when I heard our dogs eating fresh onions, I ran into the kitchen. Now, it's a kind of odd sentence, I know, but it has lots of cases where words get linked together into syllables, which is why I made up the sentence. Because in speech, we don't actually pronounce them as separate words the way I just did. Normally, what you would hear someone say would be, when I heard our dogs eating fresh onions, I ran into the kitchen. There's no actual pause between the words. If I highlight the different syllables, right, so I'm alternating red and black text here, where we is a syllable, nigh is a syllable, her, dour, dog, sie, ring, fre, shun, yun, zai, ran, nin, to, the, kitchen. Right? When we look at the syllables, that's the way the segments get grouped together in speech. If I look at the words, right? Oh, sorry, yeah, that's right. So this is what we've studied before as syllable linking in fluent speech or connected speech. And now we can see why it happens. It happens because sonority determines grouping segments into syllables. Now, if I separate the words, right, so when is the first word, I is the second word, heard, you can see that the break between words doesn't line up with the breaks between syllables. Right? The syllables, when, nigh, her, dour, dog, sie, ring, fresh onion, zai, ran into the kitchen. Right? We group the segments together by sonority. Doesn't matter where the segments come from, whether they come from the same word or separate word. So specifically, like in detail, we can show syllable linking, right, where a word final consonant becomes the onset of a syllable with a following word initial vowel in its nucleus. In fact, last semester when we studied syllable linking, this is the definition that I used. But now, if we draw the syllable trees, here I'll just use the first part of the phrase for reasons of space, right? And if I map them using or graph them in terms of their sonority, right, we can see that I have 4 sonority peaks. When I heard our has 4 sonority peaks. You see each of them? The the a, the and the ah. When I heard our. When I heard our. Each sonority peak is a nucleus in the rhyme of a syllable. The segment before each syllable nucleus is in the onset of that syllable. In 2 of these cases, at the second syllable and the 4th syllable, the nucleus is followed by a glide, so they actually form a branching nucleus. Those are diphthongs. And then the final R in our can be grouped together in that final syllable as a coda. But the important thing to notice is that the onsets are pulling the word final consonant into the syllable with the word initial vowel. We-ni. Not when I, but when I, when I heard dour, dogs eating fresh onions. Okay. So syllable linking is simply the result of applying the rules of grouping segments into syllable constituents based on their sonority. And we ignore whether those segments come from the same word or different words. Okay, now we'll take a short break for a review exercise. Again, there's on Manaba, you'll see there's a PDF file you can print out and take a few minutes to practice drawing the syllable trees for a few examples. So let me stop this video, and then in the next video we'll go over basically the answers, the syllable trees that appear in that review exercise. Okay?